I think what the internet's I assume that what the internet has changed is that people are more visually attuned than they were. You had to be much more verbally creative if you wanted to get off with a guy on the phone. You had phone sex. And it was like, and you would do it when you were on dates and all those things as well. It was just like, it was a kind of environment where you did become friends with some of the people that you were working with, in the same way as you became friends with some of the clients of the agency. Those were the people living with HIV. What I loved about having friendships with particularly this older gay couple that I got to know through the agency was they were just a delightful couple to start with. So I think that was it. I was sort of becoming friends with them. One of them was a volunteer, and I met him and his partner as well, socially outside the volunteer context. All my friends, all my gay friends around my age, in the process of becoming friends, we would share those stories. And it was like, you would do it when you were on dates and all those things as well. It was just like taken for granted that you would talk about those stories. And
that's recording now. We just have one angle, but I think
yeah, that should be alright.
Is the content okay so far? Is this okay? But I also realised after a while, wow, these people are the age of my parents, and they had been together when I met them in the early 90s for coming on for 35, 40 years or something like that, so since the 1950s. And they would talk about if a house was for sale or for rent, they would, and they found out about it, they would do whatever they could to put off straight couples from moving there. So they would make this road look really unpleasant if a straight couple was coming up the road and viewing the house or something like that. And they just sort of found ways to make sure that it was remained kind of like a gay space, basically. They also said that one of the ways you used to advertise if you were gay and you wanted a roommate in those days was to say, you were posting a classified ad, you would say, seeking congenial roommate. And that was code for queer. So it was kind of interesting just hearing this stuff and getting this like window onto a different era. You know, when you're in your 20s, you arrogantly think that anyone more than 10 years older than you is like ancient. And these guys were in their 70s. So it was and it was just also really nice seeing a couple who had been together that long and really made a life together and were pretty happy together as well. So that's something I really liked. And I think the quintessential coming out story from my time is, and still for many people today, I recognise is, one of self-realisation and then figuring out that you're gay and then struggling with that or being aware that it's not okay to come out and then just trying to decide when you'll do it. All my friends, all my gay friends around my age, in the process of becoming friends, we would share those stories. And it was like, and you would do it when you were on dates and all those things as well. It was just like taken for granted that you would talk about those stories and the extent to which we were still coming out if we were doing that, because of course not everyone was out, or not fully out. But to the extent that kids can declare themselves gay when they're 7 or 8 or 14 or whatever, which I think is fantastic. they won't necessarily. Therefore, they don't really have a coming out story. At least not that initial coming out story. There may be other environments which they have to come out, but hopefully, increasingly not. But it does make me wonder if it's like a whole genre of narrative, whether it's oral or written down or transmuted into art somehow. That is fading away. I mean, that will become a kind of historic. It'll be a historical narrative form that isn't really directly relevant anymore. But I mean, I don't know how it is if that's for someone like you and your queer friends. Do you share coming out stories still? Is that?
This is something you asked me a while ago, and I think probably my answer has changed.
Oh,
I think probably when I was a teenager, we would probably not